Welcome to the AI in Action podcast series, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I
So, what scares you the most about AI?
mean, right now it is less the AI and more the economic environment the AI is operating in. I am most scared of the giant for-profit, largely monopoly companies that are controlling this technology. And I actually think a lot of the fears of AI are actually misplaced fears of these companies. So that is my worry right now, that the immense power and wealth and concentration of capability in these few companies.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think a lot of folks are not tracking on that. They're fearful of the technology, not necessarily how it's being and who's deploying it.
And the technology is power enhancing, right? And
Mhm.
enhances the power of whoever's using it. So now you got to go back to look at the humans and say, what do these newly powerful humans want? And it's not a good answer with these companies.
So, what are you hopeful about with AI?
What I want is for this technology to be power enhancing in a diffusive way, to the extent that it makes each of us more powerful, more capable, right? It's a good technology for society, right? If it reduces power imbalances. We're living in a world of extraordinary wealth inequality and extraordinary power imbalance. And if AI can even that in some way, I mean, that would be phenomenal. Right? If it's doing jobs that people would have been doing, who benefits from those jobs being done by non-people? Are we all benefiting, or are the few who are controlling technology benefiting? That's true in general, but also true in the microcosm, right? AI is going to, let's pick a profession, lawyers, right? It's going to infuse the legal profession. To the extent that it makes the average lawyer better, that's great. To the extent that it makes the already best lawyers better, right? That's bad for justice, right? If AI is going to help, again, a public defender, right, defend people who don't have access to attorneys. If that public defender can defend those people better, that's great. If the government gives them four times the caseload, then we're not benefiting. So that's what I look at. I look at the power imbalance, and I want it to be beneficial broadly in society.
Yeah, and that's not automatic, with just AI being rolled out.
It's not automatic, and it's not the natural way in our, winner take all late stage capitalism society. Right? Monopolies accrete, there's lock-in, all the reasons why, the market economy is just failing is really happening with AI. We saw it with social media, a lot of echoes of the same things. So no, I'm not optimistic right now, but long term I am.
So, how is AI changing our society? What are you seeing?
I think we're seeing pretty much very little right now,
Mhm.
but it's the early years. You think about computerization, right? In the 80s, everyone said it was going to transform the way business worked. It took like 10 to 20 years for that to happen. And it wasn't the technology, it was integrating the technology into the existing processes. AI is going to be like that. I actually think of it as transformative as the steam engine. I mean, the steam engine in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution was the first time that we humans could consume calories at scale outside our bodies, build machines. And that made possible probably everything, certainly everything I can see, probably everything you can see. But everything we see around us is a result of machines being able to consume calories outside our physical brawn or with the help of some animals. And AI is like that with cognition. It'll be the first time we'll have cognition at scale outside our bodies. And I think the transformations will be as extreme. Society will be unrecognizable in 50 years, but it's going to be, exponential. So we're not seeing very many changes now, right? Like AI written articles is like just in the noise. But you move forward, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, I think the changes will be extraordinary and we cannot predict. Just as someone from 1820, couldn't imagine what it looks like, you know, 50 years later, 100 years later. I probably have those years wrong, but you kind of get the idea.
Yeah, I feel like there's such an urgency, and this may be misplaced as well, but urgency of folks wanting to kind of forecast with some certainty. And this is like such an uncertain new thing. How can
But we
you?
want to forecast, right? We want to
Yeah.
plan. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I teach at a college.
Mhm.
What should I major in? Is a perfectly
Yeah,
reasonable question to ask, and I have no idea is a terrible answer to give.
that's true.
Right? So people want to know how to plan, what to do, how to think about it. That is natural. And so we're all trying. But I actually think it's sort of interesting. We're pretty good at near-term tech changes,
Mhm.
right? Eventually the automobile means people will be able to get places faster. We can do that.
Mhm.
What we're bad at are the second order changes due to societal changes, due to tech changes. Everyone predicted cars will make you go faster. No one predicted the suburb, right? A
Oh,
different way of living made possible by the automobile, right? Because there's so many things interacting to make that possible. It's not just one thing. And I mean, this is why science fiction gets it wrong all the time. They extrapolate from the present, but don't understand because no one can how the different changes in the near future interact together to change society, which changes technology, which changes society, and those feedback loops. That's what's hard.
yeah, that's a fascinating perspective. So, what do you think people misunderstand about AI in 2026?
Everything. Right? I mean, it's a complicated technology.
Mhm.
It's not understandable, I think, by people who know what's going on. There are things that experts misunderstand.
Mhm.
Uh, Largely, I think the fact that capabilities are moving so fast. And I read this morning that the capabilities of AI are doubling every 3 to 4 months. That means everything you read in December is no longer true. I
Mhm.
think people are missing how fast this is changing, right? AIs make stuff up. They get citations wrong. They don't do that anymore. They can't do
Mhm.
math. Now they do math. And there's all sorts of things in that way. The capabilities are changing. And if you're not really paying attention, you hear stuff and you think it's true, and then it stops being true, but no one told you it's no longer true.
Mhm. So you've been on the forefront in your career in a lot of different major technological developments.
All about security, but yes.
So how do you like in the day to day, how do you stay up to date with these things that are changing so fast? What do you do, Bruce, in terms of what do you prioritize?
I think you have to read everything you can get your hands on,
Mhm.
right? I mean, these things are happening. People are writing about them. So
Mhm.
the information's there. But you have to seek it out. And I can't say like all of your listeners and viewers should do that, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I'm specialized. I'm here. This is what I
Mhm.
do. This is a lot of ways what my career is like. So that's how I stay on top of everything.
Mhm.
But that's how you do it. You have to keep reading and keep reading people who are doing the work and are commenting and figuring it out. And I don't do any figuring out myself. I do
Mhm.
a lot of reading
Yep. Okay. So how do you think AI has the potential to impact democracy?
in every possible way. And I mean, I wrote a book on this,
Mhm.
published in October, which oddly enough still relevant because we didn't really talk about the immediate tech. We talked about the possibilities. And we talk about every aspect of democracy. The book has 5 parts. We talk about politics, right? Getting elected, which is way more than deep fakes. I mean, there's
Mhm.
so much in AI and politics. Talk about AI and legislating, writing and passing laws. AI in government administration, like doing the working of a democratic government, AI in the courts, and then AI in citizens. I think it's going to impact every piece of democracy in ways both good and bad, both positive and negative. Hoping the positives outweigh the negatives so far.
Mhm.
I think we're doing okay.
Mhm.
But I do think it will be a major force in democracy. In some ways greater than things like television. I mean, television changed democracy. You can look at the early years of television democracy, the very famous debates where with Nixon, and I forget who he's debating, right? I mean,
Mhm.
these are early aspects of television changing democracy. CNN, right? 24-hour news changed democracy. AI is going to do those sorts of things and more in ways I don't think we can understand.
Yeah. Do you have like a top three, you know, threats to democracy connected to AI or things that you're tracking, or is it still just kind of up in the air?
I mean, it is, it's not, I mean, it's never AI. It's
Okay.
people with AI. AI
Mhm.
doesn't threaten anything.
Mhm.
Human beings using AI threaten things. And I said in the beginning, this is a power enhancing technology. In the hands of people who want more democracy, AI will do that. In the hands of people who want less democracy, AI will do that too. So what
Mhm.
AI does, it exacerbates the existing problems of democracy. And right now there are many. Right? Democracy in the US isn't very democratic. One person doesn't have one vote. Depends on where you live. Money essentially has votes because of money in politics. And those things are exacerbated by AI. Right? And the solutions are not AI solutions, they're democracy solutions. We know how to solve this. Right? We know how to not gerrymander. Like we know how to eliminate the electoral college. We know how to have shorter election cycles or public funding of elections. We know how to do all these things. And AI just makes it more dire. So my fears of AI and democracy are fears of democracy in these years of late stage capitalism, less than my fears of AI. But right, the powers in late stage capitalism with AI are much more potentially damaging than without AI.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great perspective. I appreciate your statement. AI exacerbates existing problems in democracy. That's,
Right? Multi-member districts, ranked choice
Mhm.
voting, like all these things, uh, restrictions on lobbying, restrictions on super PACs and money in politics, right? All these are not new things.
Mhm.
And these ideas have been around for decades. And they're equally unobtainable, but now it's more important. So if democracy fails, it'll be those failures exacerbated by AI.
So, what safeguards do you think should be in place regarding AI?
I mean, again, it's safeguards to power. I mean, the fact that, we allow 100 billionaires in our society is nutty. I mean, Hamilton Nolan wrote a great essay, which I urge people to read. Basically, his point is anything you can buy for $1 billion, you shouldn't be able to buy,
Oh,
right? It's like, right? It's elections. I mean, anything that costs $1 billion, we don't want you to buy, right? So those, I mean, getting rid of that. Uh, a lot of surveillance capitalism, right, is a problem. Monopolization and everything sort of undemocratic about our country and society. I mean, those are going to be the things we need to do. Now,
Mhm.
I just gave you an impossible wish list,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like regulating the AI is in the noise here. You need
Mm.
to regulate the humans.
Mm. Yeah. That's interesting. So, what do you think an AI empowered future is going to look like for Americans?
Don't know. And because I don't know what a future is going to look like. Remove AI, make it magically go away.
Mhm.
I don't know. But is democracy over? Is it going to come back? Probably in a generation, we could be trusted again on the world stage.
Mhm.
Will it happen? I kind of always assumed this was India and China's century. I mean, they are the ascendant powers on the planet, and over the course of the decades, they will be more so. Didn't expect us to immolate, in the space of a year. So it's very hard to predict what it will look like in this country because it's really hard to predict this country. I can't even
Yeah,
predict the next election. And that's what, 6 months away?
that's true. Yeah. Oh, it's so insightful, Bruce. You really framed it up that it's not just we're discussing technology. We're taking a much broader perspective as to how we're kind of integrated in this ecosystem with this thing called AI, and then the responsibility that we have as humans to engage ethically and responsibly to shape the future.
It's a hard thing. We're not good at it, right? We tend to let the future happen and then we try to shape it as it goes by.
Mhm,
So, we're terrible at being proactive,
mhm,
sort of as a species. We're much better at being reactive. It's hard though when things change so fast.
mhm. Well, do you have any final thoughts for the audience on AI and the future, or
It's
AI
going to
in
be
today?
it's going to be a wild ride.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your insights on the AI in Action series, Bruce. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.